Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is facing questions about a new accusation from a victim of Jeffrey Epstein, alleging that the late paedophile sent the woman to the UK for a sexual encounter with the former prince. The encounter allegedly happened at his royal residence in 2010. The woman, who is not British, was in her 20s at the time. Her lawyer says they are considering legal action. BBC News has asked Mr Mountbatten-Windsor for comment, but he's so far not responded. He has previously denied any wrongdoing. Chichi Azindu has this special report.
Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, once a prominent member of the royal family living in disgrace. Now, a second woman alleges she was sent to him for a sexual encounter on the instruction of the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Whoever you are, nobody is above the law. And I think
her lawyer is Brad Edwards, who represents hundreds of Epstein's victims.
There are certain people, certain victims, that Prince Andrew hurt.
The woman is alleging she was flown to the UK by Epstein, and her lawyer says it was to comply sexually with Andrew. She says she was in her 20s and is claiming the sex occurred at Royal Lodge, the 30-bedroom Windsor home the former prince has been asked to leave because of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. This is the first time an accusation has been made involving royal residences.
We're talking about at least one woman who was sent by Jeffrey Epstein over to Prince Andrew, and she even, after a night with Prince Andrew, had a tour of Buckingham Palace.
So I just want to go back a step. We are not talking about Virginia
We are
Giuffre.
not talking about Virginia Giuffre.
Have you got anything to say about Prince Andrew?
Not at the moment.
Virginia Giuffre, who took her own life last year, accused the former Duke of York of having sex with her when she was 17. In 2022, Giuffre and the former prince settled a civil lawsuit for an estimated $12 million. Andrew has always denied her accusations. BBC News has seen an email exchange between Andrew and the woman making arrangements for the meeting in 2010. That's just weeks after Epstein's sentence ended for soliciting sex from a 14-year-old girl.
And the introduction was made because of Jeffrey Epstein.
The introduction was made by Jeffrey Epstein because of his close association and friendship with Prince Andrew.
And with the release of millions of documents, images and video footage from the US government's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, it is clear that the pair had a close association and friendship. BBC News has repeatedly asked Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor for comment about these new allegations, but so far he has not responded.
And at this point in time, we have no one to even communicate with on behalf of Prince Andrew. He's seemingly been disconnected from his lawyers, which was the only way to kind of communicate with him about this. I mean, all we can do is file a civil lawsuit.
Last year, the King formally removed Andrew's styles and honours, including his title of Prince. The statement from Buckingham Palace in October said their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in 2019, but the Epstein story is still in the news because the women he abused are still fighting for justice. Chichi Azindu, BBC News.
Separately, pictures appearing to show Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor crouched over an unidentified woman are featured in the latest released batch of Epstein files that Chichi mentioned, part of more than 3 million documents published on Friday. Sir Keir Starmer has repeated his suggestion that anyone with information, including Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, should be prepared to testify before the US Congress about his dealings with Epstein. Ellie Price has more.
BBC Verify has matched the background of these images with the interior of Jeffrey Epstein's New York apartment. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor appears to be kneeling over and touching a female whose identity has been hidden. The photos were released with no context or date. But of the 180,000 images released, these pictures of the King's brother seem to be what everyone is talking about. Even the Prime Minister, who in the strongest terms yet said Andrew should testify before the US Congress over his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. He said anybody who had got information should be prepared to share it. Epstein's victims, he said, have to be the first priority. Andrew, who was stripped of all his royal titles in October, has always denied any criminal wrongdoing. But this latest batch of files, once again, doesn't look good and raises serious questions about judgment and timing. In an email exchange from 2010, 2 years after Epstein had been convicted of soliciting sex from a 14-year-old girl in Florida, and very shortly after he finished his sentence, Epstein suggested he met with a woman in London who he might enjoy having dinner with. Andrew replies he would be delighted. Epstein writes back, "She's 26, Russian, clever and beautiful, and yes, she has your email." Andrew replies again, "How are you? Good to be free?" And just over a month later, a very exclusive invitation. "We could have dinner at Buckingham Palace and lots of privacy," asked the then Duke. Epstein replies, "BP, please," and then says he is with some women, names redacted, and asks if he should bring them to add some life. Andrew replies, yes. The former Duke's former wife is also mentioned in the documents. In 2009, Sarah Ferguson thanks Epstein for being the brother I have always wished for. Later she writes, "My dear spectacular and special friend Jeffrey, you are a legend and I am so proud of you." The financier was still serving his sentence for his conviction for sexual offences involving children at the time. There are also lawyers' letters about deals to pay off the former Duchess's debts and an email from Epstein claiming to have helped her financially for 15 years. The former Duchess of York has been approached for comment.
We will continue.
The new files also contain further revelations relating to Peter Mandelson, who last year was sacked as British ambassador to Washington because of his links to Epstein. They include the claim that the sex offender lent money to Lord Mandelson's partner and a photo in his underwear with an unidentified woman. Lord Mandelson has said he couldn't place the location, the woman or the circumstances and has apologised for his friendship, what he described as a most terrible mistake, and says he wasn't culpable or complicit in Epstein's crimes. There are 3 million documents in this latest release, but with many papers withheld, Jeffrey Epstein's victims do not believe they've been given the whole truth. There's anger too that names of some of the survivors have been publicly released when they should have been redacted.
Many of the names of my clients who have been Jane Doe for many, many years were in fact published, and this is devastating to them.
Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was out horse riding yesterday near the home he's soon having to move out of in Windsor. He hasn't responded to the most recent revelations, but has always strenuously denied doing anything wrong. Ellie Price, BBC News.